Hey, and welcome back to my kitchen stories. So today is a very nice sunny Sunday over here, and I had a big urge to cook some cardamom buns today. So we're going to be making some nice fluffy buttery, those best kind of cardamom buns with you. Stay tuned, and I am absolutely sure that you will love those. So for making the cardamom buns, we're going to be needing a KitchenAid. You can also do that inside a bigger bowl, but it's going to be slightly messier, so it's much more convenient to do that with a KitchenAid. We're going to be using 600 grams of spelt flour. You can also opt for regular flour, regular wheat flour, but try to choose the best quality ones. I'm using organic spelt flour, so super good produce. Some eggs, some milk, and we're going to be using fresh yeast. So technically you can also go for the dried yeast. I personally prefer the fresh one. We will start it off from the yeast. So first and foremost, we have to sort of activate the yeast. That's what they call it. And for that, we're going to use half of it. So 25 grams of fresh yeast is going to go in. I'm just going to slightly break it, roughly 25. Yep, about like that. And then we're going to slightly break it into the bowl. I have a wooden one over here, so I'm just going to, every now and then, I'm just going to show you what's going on inside there. Small pieces, just putting those inside. And then we're going to rub the fresh yeast with the sugar to melt it. And you can give it a try, but I can assure you that it's not possible to do that rubbing procedure with any sweeteners. So it does not work with agave, it does not work with stevia, it does not work with coconut palm sugar. There's the magic that only comes from regular brown sugar or regular white sugar. I personally prefer the brown one, so sugar goes in, and then we just rub it. But while we will start rubbing that, we will heat up the milk, so 200 milliliters of milk, and we want to get that up to roughly 35 to 40 degrees. So it has to be warm in order to activate the yeast, but it should not be hot. Let's just rub. So basically that's all we're doing, and we aim to get it completely liquid. So there we have it. That's done. Let's check on the milk, and it should be warm enough so you can stick your finger in it, and then pour it inside the bowl, mix it with the yeast, and then we will start working on the first part of the dough. So for the first part, I'm going to be using the whisk attachment. For the second part, I'm going to be using the dough attachment, but we start off with a whisk. Let's close that and then put it on slow. Up. And we will add in about a third from the flour. Just slightly, bit by bit. And we want the dough to get the consistency of sour cream or yogurt. That is about what we're searching for before we add the rest of the stuff. It's getting there. I think we're almost good to go. So next up, we will start adding in all the other ingredients, but before we start, let's put the butter, because we're going to have to melt the butter. So we need the butter to be maximum 35 to 40 degrees of heat. So in other words, once it has melted, we're going to have to give it a bit of time to cool down before we mix it in the dough. We need to mix in 1 egg, small whisk before we mix that in. And now we have ready the agave syrup, we have the egg, we have some vanilla sugar. We're also gonna add some cinnamon to the dough because it just gives this super good taste. And there's one secret ingredient that I'm going to be adding to the cardamom buns, and that is saffron. If you don't know why, then basically saffron does give a gorgeous yellow color to the dough, but it also adds a very subtle and very cute taste to the buns. So that is my secret ingredient that I like to add. and I'm already seeing on the side that the butter has melted. So I'm gonna put it outside for a moment for it to cool down a bit faster so we can move on. And while the butter is cooling down, we will continue working on the dough. So let's grind the saffron. First and foremost, get it into a nice powder over here. Perfect. Teaspoon of vanilla in. Then we're adding in a teaspoon of cinnamon. Adds a bit of flavor. We don't want the bread to be boring. We don't want just white bread that is sweet and then only the taste comes from the filling, but we really want to give that bread some taste. So that's why we're adding the vanilla, we're adding the cinnamon, and we're also adding in the saffron. So that little saffron bit really works magic. If possible, try this out. Try to add the saffron in. Let's put that here. Try to get all of that in. Then we're adding agave syrup, 100 grams. The egg goes in, and we close it and we start to whisk on slow. Just let it work. And while it's whisking, we also want to add in a little bit of salt. So that helps to amplify the flavors. And slowly add in the butter. Perfect. And now we can raise the speed just slightly, a little bit. Looks good. And now before we start adding in the rest of the flour, can you see that? It's gorgeous and it's slightly yellow. So that yellow color is coming from the saffron, and it will make those little buns look simply amazing. We have the butter, we have the milk, we have the yeast, we have all of those other things already inside here. And now before adding in the rest of the flour, we attach the dough hook, put it on low, and start adding in rest of the flour, bit by bit. And it's slowly coming together, but we're going to leave it at that to work and add a few tablespoons more. And that's what you want to see. So you want to see that the dough nicely comes loose from the sides of the bowl. So now we see that the dough is pretty much ready and we are ready to roll it. The dough is ready, and usually you would now let the dough rest and rise for about 30 minutes to an hour. But there is one small tip that I want to share with you today, is that in order for us to have those nice fluffy cardamom buns, we are not going to let the dough rise right now, but we will be rolling it out on the baking tray, putting it to the fridge, and I know it sounds weird, putting it to the fridge, and then we're going to put on the filling, form the beautiful cardamom buns, and then at the very last step, we're going to be proofing the buns. But first and foremost, let's roll this dough out. In order for us to roll it, we're going to add a little bit of flour on the surface, some flour on the roll, and just press it and start rolling. We want to go for a rectangle shape. Doesn't have to be too thin. So something like that should be good to go. Now let's get the baking tray. Just gently lift the dough on the tray. Oops, there we go. As easy as that. See that it sits here quite nice. And we could also cover it with another sheet of baking paper so it does not dry out while it's in the fridge. Got that covered. We're putting that to the fridge. While we have the dough inside the fridge cooling down, we will be prepping the filling. So for the filling, we need cardamom, we need some cinnamon, we need some vanilla sugar, also coconut palm sugar, and butter that is slightly soft at room temperature. So we're gonna mix all of those together. For that, I I am putting the whisk attachment back here. Yep, like that. And then let's first and foremost get the butter in. So we're going to be needing roughly half of that amount, so it's a 200 gram pack. So we need 100 grams. Let's get that in. And I'm telling you, the secret to soft cardamom buns is nothing very too complicated. It's simply butter. So I have a very rooted in belief that if you're going to have cardamom buns or cinnamon buns, if you're going to have them, they have to be moist. They have to have a lot of butter inside, because that's what actually makes the buns good. So don't have them too often, but if you're going to have them, have the proper ones with loads of butter. That's the best part of the buns. We're going to add in the cardamom, the ground cardamom, the cinnamon, and also vanilla sugar. So those three together are going to make the filling nicely spicy, and in a way that you get to feel the cardamom the very first moment you see those buns. So you will smell that cardamom. And that's the way it should be. So we're going to add in 3 teaspoons of cinnamon and 3 teaspoons of cardamom. Then we want to go for 1 teaspoon of vanilla sugar. Let's put a heaped one. There you go. And 100 grams of coconut palm sugar. All of that is in there. And now we're going to mix it. Put it on low. Let's see what happens. Slightly coming together, slowly, slowly, slowly. Let it work its magic. And we want to see that it comes together as a very nice cream type of spicy buttery cream. And we're going to then spread it over the dough. It's looking perfect. Our dough has started to cool off, and we're ready to start rolling and putting down the filling and doing all of that magic to get those buns ready for cooking. The dough is here on the table, and we want to roll it out slightly longer because we want to fold it together. Before we spread on the filling, it's very wise to measure it, because what you want to be aiming for is about 55 to 60 centimeters of length up to the dough, and then about 35 to 40 of width. So what I'm seeing here is 38 centimeters of width, and the length is 59, so I think we're good to go. And now we will put on the spread. Oh, nice. And just slightly spread it out evenly. See that all of it gets a little bit of that buttery cardamom gorgeous filling, because that is what will make the buns good. Last bits. And we are soon ready. Amazing. So nice. It's like a meditation. So calming. To the very cool part of making the buns, a bit of measuring and cutting and folding as it is. I'm gonna put that under here. I have one special one of these in my kitchen, and I'm gonna just mark it on 20. On thirds, just gonna give it a little mark so I roughly know where to fold from. That goes there. And now to the folding. Oops. And as the dough slightly even out the sides, then pull on the second one. You can slightly stretch it. And again, adjust the sides. Oops, that little broke there. That's nothing will happen. And now we have 3 layers of saffron infused cardamom bun dough with a bit of the filling, and we're gonna raise it like that. What we're doing now is that we want the length of it to be at least 20 centimeters. Currently it is at 18 after the folding. So let's give it a nice roll, because each of the lines for the buns has to be around 2 centimeters of width. So we need, I would say, 20 to 22 centimeters. And now we are at 21, so that looks perfect. You can of course fold and form them on the baking tray, but you can also use a muffin tin, so where they would be softly and gently placed inside of those little cups that will help to proof them even upwards and onwards onto the sky, getting you nice and gorgeous little cardamom bun muffin type of thingies. Now we want to go for strips of roughly 2 centimeters. I'm just gonna mark it here. You take one of those pieces of dough, slightly swirl it, 3 fingers, 1, 2. If it's longer, you can also do a third one. I'm gonna do the last one between my fingers, then take it off, and then down over here. And then I have a gorgeous little bun. And then you can choose whether you want to put that on the baking tray, or if you want to slightly place that inside the muffin tin. Let's put this one over here. Let's do one more. So you take a piece of dough, slightly swirl it, swirl, swirl, swirl. Then 3 fingers, you do 1 round, 2nd round, take the dough off your fingers, swirl the end part, and just tuck it in from below. And before we put those little babies to proof and to rise inside the oven, and there's a pro tip, I'm using my oven to proof the buns, so just have a look at your own oven. If your oven has the melting function, then that is the perfect place to proof your buns or your breads or any type of baker that you might be doing at home, because it's mostly on 30 degrees of heat, and it's just the perfect environment. But before we do that, we need to brush the buns over with egg wash. And I took half an egg and slight bit of milk, roughly 30 to 40 mils, and just mix that together, use a brush, and give a slight glaze on them. That will make them look nice and shiny, giving them a gorgeous appearance. See that they are perfectly covered in the egg and milk wash. And then it's time to put them to the oven or to a warm place to proof. Let them rest and rise. Let the yeast do its magic. While the little buns are proofing in the oven, they have already grown in size quite nicely. Then we shall be preparing the glaze. And I mean, cardamom buns can perfectly be eaten without the glaze, just as they are, coming outside of the oven, being warm and nice and fluffy, the perfect kind, with a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever you like. But some of us also like to have cardamom buns with a glaze. So we're gonna make a very simple one. People use different types of glazes, so you can opt for a sugar glaze, a cream glaze, whatever you like. But today we're going to be making one with cream cheese, agave syrup, and a little bit of vanilla, of course. So for that, let's just get that up. We're gonna put in roughly 100 grams of cream cheese, just about like that. No need to add more. And then I would say about 50 grams of agave syrup. And this helps to make the glaze slightly softer, which is nice. And of course, 1 teaspoon of vanilla sugar. That is necessary always. There we go. And then let's mix it together. And let's let it whisk until it's just nice, soft and fluffy as it should be. It's only gonna take a minute. Already done. Let's get that away from here. Yep. And there we go. As we see, the buns have risen quite nicely. They're nice and fluffy inside the muffin tins. So we're ready to bake them at 200 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes, depending on your oven and depending on the size of your buns. Let's put them in the 200 degrees and we're gonna set the timer to 10 minutes. Then we're gonna check, and if needed, we're gonna increase the time. Our buns seem to be ready. The timer is all done and it seems that they are looking pretty good. Let's take them little buns out of here. There you go. Wow. So nice. So nice. Let's put them over here. And the little cardamom buns are ready. Let's take them out of here. Try to be gentle with them. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Just as they have to be. They look super soft, super fluffy. We can just do now 2 and 2. So 2 of those I'm gonna cover with glaze and 2 of them I'm just gonna leave into their gorgeous natural self. We're just gonna add a little bit on the bun. Just gonna spread it slightly with a spoon. And then we are going to sprinkle some pistachios on top. And there we have a cardamom muffin with cream cheese, glaze, and a bit of pistachios. I think life couldn't be very much more beautiful than that particular one. But let me show you. So it is very super fluffy, so soft. You can smell the butter, you can smell the saffron also, and it looks nice. Oh, look at that. It looks so nice and yellow thanks to the saffron. Super soft. This is to die for. This is so nice, really moist, and I personally love the subtle taste of saffron and the gorgeous yellow color. I am already 4-something hours into baking here. The sun is starting to set, but I'm telling you, those buns are well worth the effort, well worth the time, and the result is going to knock you off your feet. Try it out. The little saffron inside the dough makes the dough gorgeously yellow and gives us such a nice undertaste. And then you can opt for either with a glaze and the pistachios one, or enjoy them in their natural beauty. I'm so thankful that I got to bake with you today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you love those little buns. I'm definitely going to be guilty of eating way too many of those today. Sending you lots of love. I will see you soon in the next video. Ciao.